There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. The plan is that we must and will go far in this journey for freedom from mental slavery. And so I stand here before you today as part of something much bigger than myself, representing the heart and soul of the collective efforts of Community Healing Network and the Association of Black Psychologists. So, imagine a world where your intelligence is deemed to be substandard. You graduate from high school, valedictorian, but are told that maybe you might get into a state college. Forget private universities in the Ivy League. And you watch your incredibly talented brothers barely finish high school and forever bury their talents in their dreams. Imagine a world where in college you live every day in fear that someone will realize you are an imposter. You do belong in a state college, even though you end up graduating magna cum laude with honors in 2 majors from Yale University. Imagine a world where you get followed in department stores, passed over in favor of other customers in restaurants, skipped for beverage service in first class, denied an apartment because of your race, get asked, how'd you get a PhD? And countless times hear, wow, you're so articulate for a black person. Imagine a world where you go to bed each night praying that your male children make it through another day without falling victim to hands that swore to serve and protect, and hands from a community that struggles not to turn on itself. Imagine a world where your heart breaks often as you see a steady stream of dreams deferred, talents unrealized, hopes dashed, and lives snatched away in their prime. Welcome to my world. This is also the world which, a few days ago, a 15-year-old black girl, a child attending a pool party in Texas, was viciously assaulted by a police officer. It's the world in which the lives of Freddie Gray, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Eric Garner, and oh yes, Miriam Carey, Tanisha Anderson, Yvette Smith, and many other unarmed black men and women counted for so little. It's the world in which Damas Pakata, a young soldier of Ethiopian descent, was recently beaten by police, giving rise to protests about police brutality against black people in Israel. It's the world where a police chief in England explained that Afro-Caribbean people are more likely to die from chokeholds because you see their necks are different from the necks of white people. It is the world in which black people everywhere can't breathe. And it is the world I wanted to help change when I became a psychologist. I wanted to understand and build on the incredible resilience in African and African-American people, the talent, spirituality, sense of community that I saw in spite of suffocating oppression. And so I went to college and then to graduate school and studied clinical psychology with great enthusiasm, only to be met with great disappointment. You see, my world followed me. I didn't see me or my people in the material I was required to master. I was forced to learn theories and diagnoses that pathologized black people, black children, and black families. And my world followed me to my first full-time faculty job interview, where I presented my research on stress and depression in black women. I forgot to exhale when I was told, well, that's all very interesting, but do you plan to do research in the future on real populations? I practice my profession in this suffocating world, and I still can't breathe. Happily, along the way, I found the Association of Black Psychologists, where I was surrounded by colleagues who looked like me and who were dedicated to the liberation of the African mind, the empowerment of the African character, and the illumination of the African spirit. And so, as a graduate student, I became a member, and many years later, I was elected national president. I was preparing to challenge the lie of black inferiority. It was shortly before I began my term as president in 2011 that Community Healing Network and its founder and president, Enola Aird, asked for ABCI's help. You see, back in 2006, CHN had pinpointed the lie of Black inferiority as the root cause of the devaluing of Black lives. And they started building a movement for the emotional emancipation of Black people, mounting a frontal attack. Their goal? To engage a critical mass of Black people in the movement for emotional emancipation by the year 2019, the 400th anniversary of the forced arrival of Africans at Jamestown Colony, so that by the year 2020, we as a people would begin to see ourselves in a whole new light. CHN asked for ABCI's professional expertise to refine and develop one of their key strategies, emotional emancipation circles, self-help support groups. Enola's argument was simple and straightforward. She said, in response to the many injustices of racism, Black people can protest and march. We can sign petitions. We can weep. But until we confront and work hard to overturn and overcome from the lie of Black inferiority, we will not change this world that so profoundly devalues Black lives. We can debate, we can legislate, we can litigate. And we've done all of these things for generations. Yet here we stand, disparities and disproportionalities on almost every social indicator. Education, heart disease, employment, income, housing, you name it. The physical enslavement of Black people ended, but the attitudes and behaviors driven by the lie remain part of the cultural air we breathe in America and the world. Our oxygen has been overtaken by the carbon monoxide-filled lie of Black inferiority. And now I realize that, as my daughter put it, God had been stalking my mind and my world, presenting painful racial life experiences to prompt deeper empathy and understanding, offering tools to interpret that slippery, now you see it, now you don't, character of today's racism. You see, when the soul is ready, the path to your destiny will be clear. Now I understood why I couldn't breathe. I realized that everything in my life had prepared me for the opportunity to join a global movement for emancipation from mental slavery. And there entered Community Healing Network with the words of Dr. King. Somebody told a lie one day. The lie tells us and the world that African people have contributed nothing to humanity, that our lives are not valuable and we are not worthy of equal rights and fair treatment. The lie devalues just about everything associated with Black people. That lie is everywhere and no one escapes it. It's like going to Vegas. You're not a smoker, right? You step into the casino, you stay not even 5 minutes, and you step out, and you're smelling like a smokestack. Smoke is in your clothes, it's in your hair, it's in your skin, it's even in your lungs. That's how the lie works. At some point, that lie is no longer out there, it's in here. And it becomes internalized, coloring your thoughts, feelings, expectations, and actions. It hides in the nooks and crannies of life, and I know this all too well. For example, on my way to Ferguson, I'm standing at the counter at the airport, waiting for my connecting flight. Up walks this short, petite, confident Black woman in the captain's uniform. And she's about to fly the plane I'm waiting to board. And before I could hide from my own implicit associations, my brain said, whoa, wait a minute. Where's my white male pilot? I shocked myself. I said, Cheryl, how could you? Ergo, the need for emotional emancipation. These circles are gatherings in which Black people are invited to breathe freely so that we can think more clearly and begin the crucial work of replacing the lie of Black inferiority with the truth of Black humanity, as CHN puts it. And so my journey began. I went to Ferguson in the wake of the killing of Michael Brown, and to Brooklyn in the wake of Eric Garner's non-indictment, and to Baltimore in the wake of the killing of Freddie Gray, to help with community healing from all these traumas. I also went, though, to plant seeds about a global movement for relief of the historical and continuing trauma of enslavement and racism. CHN and ABC knew from the very beginning this was not just a US problem. It's a global issue requiring a global movement. And so I went to Cuba and to Ghana and to England and to Suriname. And everywhere I went, I heard the same thing Black people were saying right here in the US. The session almost feels like a 12-step meeting, but for Black folks dealing with trauma. This is so painful. I've been carrying this stuff around forever. I didn't even know I needed healing. I feel like I can finally exhale. It's as though the late Black psychiatrist Frantz Fanon reached through Eric Garner to remind us that as a people, we can't breathe. We are suffering under the weight of racism. And we revolt simply because, for many reasons, we can no longer breathe. But we must breathe in order to heal from the trauma that is both then and now, personal and collective. It's what a protester in Ferguson realized. We were collectively traumatized in 1814, through 1914, through 2014. And it's what I like to show in our history timeline. I call it the real history of Black America, that we've had more time in this country in the condition of enslavement. Post-emancipation, we're still not free. Post-civil rights legislation, barely one generation of Black people free with civil rights, but behind on every single indicator of quality of life. But we continue to try to make a way out of no way. And lest we forget, freedom from colonialism for many African countries is only about a generation long. Most gained their independence in the 1960s, and 5 countries didn't get it until 1975 and 76. Incidents regularly flashed on the evening news re-injure us, invoking centuries of degrading, psychically traumatizing pain. It's like walking barefoot on hot concrete. You gingerly hop your way through it, but it's painful. Welcome to our world. But we don't have to hop anymore. We can emancipate ourselves from this mental slavery. Dr. King says, emotional emancipation is identity and a firm sense of self-esteem. And Enola adds, it's freedom from any and all toxic lies about the inferiority of Black culture and freedom to see ourselves beyond the negative stereotypes. Emotional emancipation circles are community-driven, self-help spaces that require no professional degrees, just a willingness to defy the lie and embrace the truth and help others to do the same. They provide conscious reminders of what we must understand, what we must tell ourselves, what we must seek out, and what we must do in order to free ourselves and stay free. Circles are safe, flexible spaces where Black people can address and understand trauma of racism, where we can share our stories, be in community, and do the work of community, detox our minds and spirits, and revitalize ourselves and our relationships. They're spaces in which we can exhale and breathe. And they offer keys to unlock action in terms of what and how we think about things, our feelings about things, our behavior in response to things. And the psychology of the circles, very simple, building on basic principles in psychology like perception. You see, perception matters. Dr. Goff at UCLA and his colleagues present a very, very disturbing picture of the effects of the dehumanization of Black people on Black children. You see, when people see Black children, they don't see the same kind of innocence and protection given to other children of other races. And so Black boys, for example, they're judged to be older and they're treated more harshly than same-age boys from other races. The circles, though, are also about understanding the role of thinking and our thinking patterns, like the availability heuristic. That's the tendency to believe we know certain things, we know certain information, not realizing that What we know is simply a matter of what we're exposed to. For example, the CDC. CDC keeps data on all kinds of animal behaviors, even pet turtles. Watch your pet turtles. So answer me this. Who kills people more? Sharks, cows, or killer ants? Now, most people would say sharks. But the reality is, cows kill people at a rate 27 times greater than sharks. But we never hear about cow attacks on the 6 o'clock news. Details to follow, right? And if I played the theme song for the movie Jaws, which reinforces the belief about the dangerousness of sharks, and I didn't say a word, just played the song, your minds would immediately take you to the schema for sharks and their killer antics. So, my question to you, what are the shark songs and availability heuristics about black people? What images come to mind when you think about black men, black women? If you want a sneak peek into the shark song for black people, go to Google Images and simply type in the words black men. Black folks have become the sharks of humanity. And as much as we try not to, many of us have bought into that lie and allowed it to cripple our own images of ourselves and our people. Information matters, and it can create cognitive dissonance and lead to new ways of seeing the world and ourselves. So in the circles, we teach our story. It's like the African proverb says, until the lion has an historian, the hunter will always be a hero. We must tell our classical civilization story, our Holocaust of enslavement and colonialism, our resilience, trials, tribulations, values, and strategies to support community. And relational needs and resiliency are important. People, we are wired to be connected to others, and the circles are intentionally designed to build a sense of belonging and connection to nurture our incredible resilience. Ultimately, as ABSI President Dr. Darrell Rose says, circles seek to help black people everywhere overcome cultural imperialism, the supplanting of black people's cultural integrity with a supposed universal framework that is derived almost exclusively from European cultural experiences. And the circles are about raising consciousness, so that as Freire says, the more radical the person is, the more fully he or she enters into reality, so that knowing it better, he or she can transform it. This individual is not afraid to confront, to listen, to see the world unveiled. So this movement is CHN's call to counter the lie by putting time for healing at the top of the black community's agenda in the United States and throughout the world. And it's about helping our children defy the lie and learn the truth about who they really are. Like our ancestors before us, we must act as though it is impossible to fail. To the non-black world, I invite you to emancipate yourselves from the lie. It is limiting you as well. To my diaspora and African family, the time is now. Psychological and emotional liberation are the keys to complete freedom and a transformed future for black people. And who else called us to come to this state of dealing with mental slavery? Marcus Garvey, Carter G. Woodson, Du Bois, Fanon, Malcolm X, Dr. King, Steve Biko, Nelson Mandela, and Bob Marley, to name a few. As Garvey said, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Won't you help to sing this song of freedom? Thank you.